Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 79 of the Xbox Hall of Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Mr. Firehawk himself.
Hey.
And that's it. We're two-manning it this week. We got Shane learning how to get this stream up and running, which is great because I have no fucking idea how it works.
Seems to be working.
I'm just talking to a mic. Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not going to question it. as long as I don't have to do it, that's great.
Wizardry.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Apocalypse, for joining us. As always, we're doing the show live on Twitch, so people will pop in and out and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. If you want to come hang out with us, Xbox Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. Come say hi. Ask us questions, shit post. I mean, that's usually what happens on the show. Now, normally I do a song of the week, but because we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants a little bit this week, we've decided to give it a miss. But check back next week, and I'll see if I get around to writing a song. So I guess without further ado, we'll just go straight into our community questions. We've got one here from host Keo, who asked, in games where you have to grind for better gear, do you prefer gear that could drop anywhere in the game as you play, or ones that could be targeted to locations for specific types of loot and exclusive weapons?
So what is he saying?
I mean, it's a very specific question. I mean, I guess I guess he's talking about like, hey, if you need this weapon in like a JRPG, you usually know the enemy type that drops it, so you go and like find a big group of those enemies. Whereas something like Borderlands is like, hey, you just keep shooting enemies, and sometimes they'll just drop any kind of shit. You never know what you're kind of gonna get.
Oh, then definitely the former, because
Right?
games like Castlevania, Final Fantasy, it's way easier to know where you're gonna get it.
I mean, I just spent like 10 hours doing this week with Nier, and I was like, if I didn't know what enemies were dropping this shit, I would have lost my goddamn mind.
Nier's a good case in point.
I much prefer knowing what I'm doing is actually helping. Because the other thing is that if things are completely random, then you don't really know what the odds are on a lot of that stuff. It's really hard to calculate. And so like a lot of that time stuff is more likely to drop in some areas, but you just don't know it.
Does anyone like randomness in games? I mean, besides like poker, like does anyone really like all the RNG? Because man, sometimes
RNG is the worst.
Especially achievement related.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I've been playing a lot of JRPGs and kind of stuff in that genre recently, and been putting up with a lot of that bullshit. I mean, Nier obviously had like a 10-hour grind at the end of it. Ni no Kuni had like a 10-hour grind at the end of it, just trying to find certain monsters that I needed, and then certain weapon types. And then obviously when you find the monster, it's like it's a chance of whether you capture them or not.
Yeah, too many JRPGs also have the collect every weapon or collect every armor or both. So it can be such a pain to get that stuff to drop.
Especially when it's like, hey, you're at the end of the game. There's no use for any of this stuff because you've finished the game. You've already got the best stuff or whatever.
Yeah, you get the like +7 flaming sword of God, and you have to go back and grind out for some weak claymore or something from the beginning of the game. It's like, great, thanks. Really need that.
That's exactly how I want to spend my time. That's how I get enjoyment out of these games. It's not the story or the combat or the characters or the art or the music. It's playing the same battle system over and over again.
Yeah, you can't like skip it.
But
like,
I guess for some people,
I know like some games will like give you like a instant beat option. It's really rare even now, but man, that's great because those grinds can be a pain when you have to go back and keep actually playing the game.
Yeah. Mr. Apocalypse says Injustice 2 has an achievement to use certain characters' abilities, but that ability is RNG from the in-game loot box and rewards. Exactly. Like, that's a great example of just being like, it's like, yeah, you might get this achievement in you might get this achievement in 5 minutes. It might take you 100 hours. You never know, right? And like, I don't really see I understand from a player engagement point of view why they do things like that, but my God, is it annoying.
Yeah, it's even worse.
Yeah. We did get a few responses to that in the channel itself. Our discord.io/hallofgamers is the place to come and hang out with our community. And so Akio asked this question to our community, and we got a few responses here. Divine Fear says preferred targeted locations, so I know what kind of gear will drop out of a certain area's pool. Same sort of thing we said. And it's easier to kind of leave and refresh certain areas if you need to redo that stuff over and over for farming, which, yeah, did a lot of that. Isaac prefers basically getting new guns all the time. Just because it's like, hey, I'm going to be playing through this whole game. It's cool when the stuff shows up. I can kind of see that argument, right? Where it's like, if the randomness is actually like spread out across the entire game and it isn't like super low chance, then it's like, hey, just playing through the game, fighting bosses, doing stuff, and suddenly you just come across something really, really cool. I mean, that is a good experience, but
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah.
But I agree with like Cameron, where it's like, if it's related to achievements, man, please just don't make it random. Just no random achievements whatsoever, please.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, Chin Doctor has basically said, yeah, he'll get it regardless because he just has, plus 10 to luck. That son of a bitch. And we also have another question here from my good friend Isaac, Mr. Logic Dad. I says, hey guys, are there any tricks that you've done to complete games in your backlog? That can be game sharing, emulation, special controllers, even tricking the Kinect into thinking a balloon is a person. Thanks for taking my question. A recent example is that I use the PC version of a game which supports local co-op, and the Xbox version for some reason doesn't. And then use a program to run 4 virtual controllers, each which were assigned buttons on the keyboard, so I can get the co-op achievement without 4 controllers or 4 people to play the game with locally. Apparently, he found a solution on TA. He didn't name what game it was, but that's actually pretty fucking genius. I mean, we're both ridiculous completionists and play a bunch of bullshit, and we'll, I'm sure we've got a few stories here and there.
I mean, especially with Kinect, I've absolutely had my back then toddler daughter, a vacuum with hangers to make it look like it had arms, and then a chair with like a balloon attached to the top so that it looked like a head. So I had 4 players to do achievements. I've absolutely done things like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was rough. I have that clip somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I know I took a screenshot or something while I was doing it because the Kinect, it was whatever game I was playing had where it showed what the Kinect was actually seeing. So it showed me look like a freaking idiot with 2 inanimate objects and my daughter.
What? I've still got that one Kinect game that I keep meaning to go back to. I need to put that on my serious backlog in terms of just getting it done for Kinect Adventures because it's rough. But I've got a big TV. I got a lot of room. I don't really have a lot of excuses. I should just get it done.
I just need to do more Kinect games in general. Now that my Just Dance days are probably over. Well, actually, my bestie bought me Just Dance 2023, so I guess I'm back on that train. But I do need to do more other Kinect games because, like, I still got quite a few to do. I would love to get around to Power Rangers Connect and Dragon Ball Z Connect. That'd be probably really frustrating, but interesting and fun, I'm sure. So, Connect's
I mean,
fun.
more power
Connect's
to you,
fun.
man. Like I did one Kinect game, and the only reason I bought the Kinect is so I could video chat with my overseas girlfriend at the time. And it just happened to come with this. It came with the game, and I was like, I suppose I should probably play the game at some point. Go what achievement? I was like, why have I started this? Why have I put this evil on myself? And here we
That'll
are,
do it.
fucking, a decade later. I'm just like, oh Christ, I barely put any progress into the damn game.
Yeah, I feel that every time I do a Connect game, it's not like Just Dance or Dance Central. Like I did that stupid baseball one by Suda. Shoot, I forget what it's called. Anyway, as soon as you start throwing, it's not like reading you right and everything. Like, oh no, why did I do this? Especially 360 Connect. Whoo.
Oh yeah.
Always sketch every time I start a game with that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna regret this.
Oh god. Anything else you can think of? Because I mean, like I did some trickery with my Titan 1 for GTA 4 for the
Oh,
online grind, getting headshots. You can basically set up an hour-long game where essentially the enemy, your other controller will also your other profile will spawn in the same spot every time if you stand in the right place. So you could basically aim a sniper rifle and just keep it shooting for an hour, and that saved
yep.
me a shitload of time.
I actually found a trick for that when I did the Darkness online grind. I didn't see it anywhere else, but I found a spot where you could stand and the other account would keep spawning the same spot to get those kills. But I've never done any of this other stuff he's mentioned, like game sharing, emulation, special controllers. I don't even have a turbo controller, sadly.
Neither. I mean, I kind of use the Kronos or the Titan to kind of replicate that occasionally, but I don't actually have like a dedicated controller or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess the closest I've gotten to emulation is like, what is it, Jackbox? Having like multiple windows open.
yeah,
Probably the closest I've gotten.
yeah, like Drawful and all that kind of stuff. We need to have like 16 players or some
Hmm.
ridiculous shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think one of the more recent
yeah.
ones is like 30 some players. Like I've stayed away from those.
Oh boy, yeah. I've enjoyed those games for the most part, but achievement wise, they're kind of it's. I mean, it's obviously not the point of those games, right? They just have achievements because they need achievements. But
Yep.
hmm,
The first three aren't bad, but then yeah, they start getting pretty ridiculous. I think they're on like Jackbox 8 or something like that by now.
Christ, yeah.
Ah, they're great games.
I mean, yeah, they are great games. The less said about TKO, the better, though. That's the one that's going to get me in trouble.
TKO.
Long time fans knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Isaac. I mean, I'm always open to interesting ideas. You know, I've got some Guitar Hero stuff, which would be great to have. You know, some Guitar Hero help because I need to do all of Guitar Hero 3 on co-op, and I'm just by myself, and it's all local, so it's quite difficult. But I
Hmm.
know some people have done stuff for like I know there was some stuff around like strumming and all that kind of thing to kind of grind out some of those. Yeah, there's old games especially are particularly bad for that kind of stuff. All right, well, let's get into some news. There isn't a huge amount this week, but I figure we'll just touch on some stuff. Apparently, it looks like that there is a PlayStation console exclusive Stray Game of the Year nominee for the Game Awards, which again is insane to me, but whatever. Is apparently looking to get an Xbox release. Apparently, there's a new ESRB rating for the Series X and Xbox One. So this is another Annapurna joint, so I'm not super surprised that it's coming across. I'm glad that it is. We're coming up on about a year of it coming out in July, so sounds like maybe we'll get a chance to play it. I don't know. What do you think, Shane?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I since it's Annapurna and it wasn't Sony, I kind of figured this was coming sooner or later. And a lot of PlayStation exclusives have been coming lately, so it's not surprising. But man, I'm excited. I really wanted to play this, and I don't own a PlayStation, and it doesn't have achievements, so I wouldn't have played it anyway. But still, it'd be very cool. I wonder if we'll
Yeah,
get an announcement during Game Fest.
that would probably make us. I wonder if this is going to be like a Game Pass get potentially. Hey,
Oh,
this is
that's
coming to
true.
Game. Like, hey, you know, this is coming to Game Pass in July or something along those lines, or next
I feel
month
like
or
a lot
whatever.
of I feel like a lot of Annapurna games have come to Game Pass, haven't they?
Yeah, 12 minutes was on there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. What was the other one? Memoir Blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So there's a very good chance this comes to Game Pass.
yeah. So I think
Cool.
that would be a good get. I mean, I definitely want to play it.
Day one for sure. I think there's like one hard trophy and it's like a speed run, but it's a pretty easy game, so I can't imagine that being very hard.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. I'm just looking at the Annapurna games that have been on here. Yeah, Last Stop. I'm Dead. No,
Oh.
I'm Dead hasn't been on
Mm-hmm.
there. Artful Escape has.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah,
I'm
sounds
surprised
like
that
a very good bet.
Sayonara Wild Hearts never made it to Game Pass. That seems like a really good one for that. Hmm. Um, yeah, Kentucky Route Zero. Less said about that, the better. Um, yeah, a lot of stuff here on Skip. So hopefully we see more of it. But I'm looking at the Annapurna has a lot of unreleased games that haven't come to Xbox. So who knows? I'm hoping we get a bit more. I mean, always good to see new stuff on Game Pass. And then I guess probably the biggest news this week is that Mortal Kombat 1 just got announced for a September release date, and they
Yes,
put out a trailer for it.
sure did. Boy, that thing was
Uh,
violent.
Holy shit! Yes, I mean, look, I was even at like Mortal Kombat 10. I was like, man, these fatalities are getting pretty fucking disgusting. And then 11, they were just like, we're going to do more of it, and now 12, like this is insane. It also, I mean, like, how much of this is like in engine versus like cinematic? Like, where's that line happen? I don't know, but like, fuck, it looks good. It looks really good.
I don't play the Mortal Kombat games, but I've absolutely watched the movies on YouTube where that's just all the cinematics, and they're really well done.
Mm. And so it looks like this one sort of follows on from the end of the DLC from the from 11.
This is
Obviously, I
wild.
don't want to spoil too much if you haven't played it for whatever reason, but yeah, so it looks like you've got they're doing a in-universe reboot as well as a game reboot. So again, it still technically fits into the continuity, but because the 11th game dealt with time travel, they've kind of looked like, okay, we're gonna restart things from the very first game. Not a huge amount of details yet, other than kind of the characters you've seen. They're going to do a thing called like cameo fighters. It looks like where it's kind of like assist trophies in Smash Bros. Ultimate, where it's like these characters aren't technically playable, but they have some sort of impact in the game. So I'll be curious to kind of see what characters are actually in and which ones are out. There was also a leak, I think we talked about last week, that apparently Homelander and Peacemaker are potentially going to be in the first DLC pack for the game as well.
I think it expanded, if I'm not
some good
mistaken.
gets.
It leaked on Amazon that we're also getting Quan Chi, Omni-Man, which is funny because I heard a lot of podcasts going, man, Homelander versus Omni-Man would be cool. And sure enough, we're probably getting it. Ermac and Takeda. I don't know who those are.
Damn, okay, that's a great list. I mean, look, this is NetherRealm Studios. They cannot stop a leak to save their lives. I think that they're basically, well, at this point, I think they basically just expect people to figure out all this shit. But I'm excited. I mean, like I really enjoyed Mortal Kombat 10 and 11. I'm very much not a fighting game guy, but I would
Yeah.
highly recommend them.
Did you say cameo fighters are like assist trophies pretty much?
It kind of, it's not super clear, but they have some sort of distinction between regular fighters and cameo fighters. I think is
Okay.
kind of what's happening.
Because the listing also says the cameo fighters that have been revealed are Tremor, Jean-Claude Van Damme's Johnny Cage, Chameleon, Movado, and Farah. Wow, that's a weird list.
That is
Thinking
a very
Jean-Claude
weird
Van
list.
Damme.
So yes, so I don't know if that means that like they're costumes or they're like different like alternates of the other ones, or again, we want to find out more about it. But they just put out this new trailer. It looks really good. I suspect that with PlayStation's, I think PlayStation's a state of play later this. I think it's next week, 26 or something along those lines. I suspect they'll probably have more details to talk about there. I think that makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, we'll definitely be hearing about it next month at Summer Games Fest.
Oh yeah, I bet Jeff Keighley would literally murder somebody to get some Mortal Kombat details at his show. Like, oof, that's a get.
100%.
That'll draw some
100%.
major,
Yeah, I'm sure.
like mainstream eyes.
Yeah, well, the fact that it's coming out in September, right? Like it's a nice change. It's the kind of thing that where they're like, hey, this is coming out in like a couple of months. This isn't like, oh, hey, this will be out in the next year and a half. It's like, no, this is fucking happening. And you're gonna find out about it.
Because
So
when did 11 come
I
out? It's been
suspect
a
maybe
bit, hasn't it? I mean,
it has been a bit, yeah, because
yeah.
I mean, I suspect that maybe they do a gameplay reveal trailer or something along those lines at Summer Games Fest or at State of Play. I think that would make a lot of sense. I mean, to be fair, like what gameplay is there to show? I mean, I guess it sort of depends on what systems
I was about to
they've
say that. Like,
implemented.
I mean, it's gonna be Mortal Kombat. I bet. I'm
Yeah,
sure
there's
the only
this
thing
person on
people
the
will be
left, there's
interested in
this
is the
person on the
cameo.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was gonna make it 3D. Please don't.
Oh God, no, please no. But I think that, yeah, I think that I'm trying to think because the last one they did was 11, and then there was the talk that they were going to do Injustice 3 because they kind of had that cycle of doing 9, then Injustice, then 10, then Injustice 2, and then 11, and then they were like, oh, Injustice 3, I guess. And that was they usually had like an April May launch, so around this time. And that would have been last year, but they basically missed their kind of regular schedule. But with COVID, I can't say I'm hugely surprised. And the rumor was that with all the stuff happening with DC and it kind of that being up in the air, they didn't necessarily want to make a whole game full of rosters of stuff that might no longer be licensable.
That's a good call.
Which I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? I guess with everything happening with Warner Brothers and their parent company, it was kind of a bit of a mess. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, like like Mortal Kombat 9 kind of did the Mortal Kombat 1 thing of kind of, I mean, in universe going back in time and fucking with stuff. But I guess like, it actually going back. Well, I mean, like I said, this is a continuation of the story. Like, so it isn't, some of the stuff will be the same, some of it won't. The Mortal Kombat story is not like a huge selling point for the game in terms of like the lore, but some people do care about that stuff, and it's probably the fighting game with the most consistent lore and storytelling, and actually having like a sort of universe in place. I'm just
Yeah,
trying to think if there are any others that kind of follow
I couldn't
that.
tell you the storyline of Tekken or Street Fighter, but I can tell you Mortal Kombat's
Sure, I could
Sub-Zero,
maybe.
Scorpion, psh, 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 you know. I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty much, right? You're like, that's it. Yeah, like, to be fair, people talk about like the Quan Chi and all that kind of stuff, and
mhm.
um, so yeah, there's definitely like a history and a lore there, and they do have some continuity stuff. So I mean, I'm almost certainly going to play this. Obviously, I want to see the achievement list, and 11 started getting into that monetization piece that was a little bit rough. 10 was also not great, but not as bad. But that's just kind of how it goes these days. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I know that Cameron and I know Cameron's excited as well.
I'm sure he is.
And then our last story here. It's a couple of stories, but there was recently an interview with Take Two's CEO, and they had a few bits and pieces. Take Two are the publishers of 2K, that they own the 2K brand. So again, all of those sports titles that you're used to seeing, as well as Grand Theft Auto, and a few other big names. I think Borderlands are also owned by them as well. And so they asked, I believe Strauss Zelnick is their CEO. Let me just see if I can double check that. Sorry, I'm just lost my place here. So one of the big things that come out of this is apparently they're not seeing any pushback on their price increase to $70 for their games. It was, if you know, if you didn't know somehow, a lot of those like 2K sports titles, especially in basketball, have basically pushed themselves up to $70 last year for their mainline releases. And there was a lot of talk around whether this was good for the industry, good for what consumers. Is this necessary? Is there going to be pushback? Yeah, and so it looks like, for example, Midnight Suns, which came out last year, that was also
Mhm.
priced at $70. Came out in December, and apparently failed to meet expectations, which is unfortunate because apparently it's quite a good game, for Axis.
I've
Sort
heard
of,
really good things. Yeah.
yeah, turn-based strategy, kind of XCOM-esque. But it was discounted. They basically discounted it by 33% within a month of release. So that kind of maybe puts a bit of a question mark at the end of the statement around like not seeing this impact. But his quote from Strauss Zelnick here is, "We're not seeing pushback on frontline price. What we're seeing is consumers are seeking to limit their spending by either going to stuff they really care about, blockbusters, or to value, and sometimes to both. The good news is we have a bunch of blockbusters and a wonderful catalog." Which again, I feel like I'm just been transported back to 2008, because I feel like I saw so many articles with the same stuff going on during the global financial crisis.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so for example, 2K21 was the first next gen game to be priced at $70. Sony and Activision have now also decided to start charging $70. EA and Square Enix have followed that with Final Fantasy. It looks like the new Final Fantasy is going to be 70, even on some of its PC games. Microsoft and Nintendo, Ubisoft is starting to do it with Skull and Bones, which is, I feel like, a real bad move. And even
That's
Sega
never coming out.
recently said that they're looking at raising prices as well. Again, this is like, the sky is blue and like, water is wet,
Yeah,
right?
like
Like,
no one, gamers aren't going to stop playing games because you raise the price. I mean, at a reasonable amount, and I think $10, most gamers aren't going to care or notice. So, like, not really surprising.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think overall for the industry, I understand why. Like, it makes sense, right? Game development
Hmm.
is very expensive. I'm not like taking a holistic view of it. I can definitely see like, hey, HD graphics and the demands of the consumer for video games right now are quite frankly unsustainable, with our current market, and that's why you have so many things like microtransactions. Um, Not to say that games are entitled by any means, but that like some companies have lifted the bar so much that it becomes the standard for what's expected of a video game these days, which I feel like maybe is missing the point a little bit. I think we've seen that smaller titles still do very, very well. I mean, if you look at Hi-Fi Rush, for example, that was a $30 game, smaller project. Tango Gameworks, great studio. And it came out to rave reviews critically, and apparently did relatively well successful, like in terms of financially, but at least for Game Pass.
Yeah, sold really well on Steam apparently. Like you can get it for free on Game Pass, but people still went out and bought it in droves apparently.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that I mean, like I guess from their like main big hitters, $70 makes some sort of sense. But I guess for you personally, I mean, what do you think about this? Is this something that's going to impact the amount of games you play or the amount of games you buy? Yeah.
Like me, because I don't buy games.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking. Right, I'm the same way. Right, I don't really buy stuff, and I was just kind of thinking about it, like in our community. I feel like a lot of our community we're very, very price conscious in terms of like sales and
Mm-hmm.
um, bang for your buck in terms of like trying to get value out of our games, and we're also pretty review conscious. Obviously, we're a small subset of a small subset, but yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, if you, I mean, is there anything that you're like looking forward to coming out that you're like, oh man, I don't know, like
I can't
think things
imagine
getting a
if
little
I
pricey.
really wanted a game if $70 would matter. Like if I'm playing Redfall right now. If I had really wanted it and it wasn't on Game Pass or something, I can't imagine $70 would have put me off. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
if the next Fallout comes out and it's $90, no, not special edition, just the base game, I'm absolutely gonna pay that. Obviously, it's gonna come to Game Pass, so it's a moot point. But if it wasn't, I would pay it. I don't care. So I can imagine most people like Grand Theft Auto, whatever 6 can come out $80. I guarantee it's still gonna sell so much money. Like it just, and then you have situations like Redfall where maybe $40 that game would have been worth it. It's not worth 70, which makes the backlash even worse because that's a lot of wasted money. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect gamers much. If they jumped $30 all of a sudden, then there'd probably be a huge backlash. But what's the metaphor? Putting a like raising the heat on a boiling lobster, like they're not going to notice it.
frog. Yep.
So
Yep.
frog, that's it.
For the frog.
Yep, because it can jump out.
Yep.
Well, you can jump. Lobster can jump. I mean, I'm not going to be specious or anything, but
It's also not true. Frogs will jump out if the water gets too hot. But yes, I know. But I know
they'll
what you mean.
jump
You're
anyway.
slowly raising the heat. Yeah, sure. It's a
Yeah.
frog. Exactly. Um, yeah, I'm totally with you. I think that I buy games very rarely. I have bought a few more recently, just because like Game Pass has been really good, but I'm kind of getting a little bit towards the end of my catalog there. At
Hmm.
least with the current stuff, obviously there'll be things cycling in and out, as we'll talk about in a minute. Um, but I think that like the one that sticks out to me at the moment is Jedi Survivor. Um, like that's one that I really, really want to play. And that is $70. Like that's 140 New Zealand or 150. Like it's a lot of money.
Oof. Yeah.
Um, and so I'm weighing up, being like, I do really want to play this, but I have a lot of other shit. So I'm like, maybe I'll wait for a sale. Normally, my rule is usually like it needs to be like a 50% off sale before I'll even consider anything because I just have such a huge backlog. And that's why I played some of these other games more recently that aren't on Game Pass because they finally kind of got to that 1 year, 2 year cycle where they're on sale. But I think with maybe Jedi Survivor, it might be like if I get a 25% off sale, I'm probably going to jump on it, just to kind of take the edge off of that price increase. Um, but we'll see. Like I'm not hugely thrilled about it, and like I kind of want there to be a bit more range in kind of the price of video games in general. Um, Especially considering like with the way the economy is at the moment, and kind of with inflation being insane and people's wages stagnating. It's I'm
Hmm.
not going to get into a whole season means of productions rant here, but it's
You can. It's fine.
it's a hard ask, right?
Hmm.
It's the kind of time where a lot of people are raising their prices, and I feel like gamers are going to feel the squeeze. And I think that the smaller titles or that medium-sized development, which is we've just kind of seen come back a little bit. We've kind of seen a little bit more of that double A space with Game Pass and other things like it, where games coming out at like half price, like $30 or 40, as opposed to the sort of 60, 70, have actually found a bit of a place. And I feel like that's just going to die again when this happens, because it's basically going to be like there's going to be indie titles that are going to be real cheap that we want to get people in with, and then there's going to be these big financials, the blockbusters where, yeah, like you said, people are going to pay whatever it costs for GTA 6. They're not going to care because they're going to buy one game and they'll be like, I just won't buy another game. It's like instead of one game, instead of two games, I'll buy one.
I mean, GTA is still like top of the charts, so I feel like a lot of people are going to definitely warrant that as like, yeah, that's my purchase for the year. All right, good enough.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like most people only buy a couple of games a year, right? It's like, hey, buy the sports title that you want, like FIFA or
That's true.
Madden or 2K, or it's Call of Duty, and maybe some other big, maybe a Starfield, maybe a Spider-Man, maybe something like or a Last of Us, like one big blockbuster release.
hmm
And it's like, hey, that's 3-4 games for the year, which
All they
would drive
need,
me insane.
right? I
Um,
don't get it. I don't understand how people play like 1 or 2 games a year. Like that's my brothers will play NBA 2K whatever all year. I'm like, don't you guys want to play literally anything else for even a minute?
yeah, there's so much variety out there, and just feel like people are
Oh,
missing
so
out. But
many
hey,
variety. It hurts
um,
me. There's so many games out there.
speaking of variety, Game Pass, and sports titles, let's get into our Game Pass updates. So we've got some new announcements. Things are available today, or have been available in the last couple of days. FIFA 23 just got released. Eastern Exorcist, which looks quite interesting, just came
hmm
out. Ghost Lore as well. And then Superland 6 Inches Under, which is the sequel to the original Superland, just got surprise dropped yesterday.
Gotta love when that happens.
Yeah, I
Did you
mean
play
that's
the first
great.
one?
Like again, I did. Yeah, I did the first one on the stack actually, and I
Oh.
enjoyed it for the most part. It was. I mean, it was very bare bones. I mean, like it was. Again, all the characters are stick figures. It's real.
hmm
Like I'm not gonna say asset flippy because that's probably a little bit disingenuous. They obviously put some effort into the game. Um, but obviously it was like it was a literal sandbox, um where you could just kind of go around and do RPG stuff. And I like the upgrading mechanic because they would kind of fix problems with the game with upgrades, which is kind of fucked up. But um yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. It's definitely, like, it was a game that you could definitely break a lot of intentionally. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the sequel. I don't think I'm going to jump on it straight away. Probably wait for a few guides and that kind of stuff. But what about you? I'm assuming you played them as well.
I tried Superland on my alternate account like one time. I literally loaded it up and walked around a little bit. I'm like, I don't like this, and then turned it off. And then I never
Yeah.
did it leave Game Pass? I can't remember.
It did, you did, yeah. That's actually why I played it,
No.
because that
Okay.
was the
Yeah, see, I think I don't remember what I was doing, but I absolutely skipped Valaking that. So nope, never got around
yeah.
to
I mean,
it.
like it was fine. Again, like I don't think it was amazing, but it was relatively enjoyable. It was enjoyable enough that I did it twice. So whatever that means. And then May 23rd, we've got Planet of Lana, which I'm very excited about. Looks
Yes.
like
It's
Limbo
very
with
good.
some nice colors.
That's some nice colors.
Um,
Any
it's
color.
it's been a while since we've had, yeah, any color exactly. It's been a while since we've had like a sort of like 2D side scrolling kind of game in that vein. I would say. I mean, because we had Limbo and Inside, and then Somerville kind of wasn't really that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Obviously I want to check out the list. I'm hoping it doesn't have some ridiculous speed run or ridiculous no death achievement, but we'll keep an eye out.
That stuff always worries me about those kind of platformers because they always toss those in. It took me forever to finally get around to Limbo, like literally a couple months ago, and just ugh, I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
I need to.
I haven't, so I haven't done
Yeah,
Ori. That's why I haven't done a lot of those games.
Ori, at least I was able to do because you could save scum the shit out of it. But the problem with Limbo
Ooh,
is that there's nothing you could do. You just got to get good,
nope.
unfortunately.
Gotta get good, and that's one of those games where I did the stack finally, or one of them, and then I immediately went and did the next stack, so I had that like fresh in my mind, and was able to do it the first time.
I would do exactly. I would do it exactly the same thing. So I need
Mm-hmm.
to go and do that at some stage. And then May 25th, Cassette Beast is coming to consoles, which is great because it's currently on PC.
Yep, yep.
Apparently, people have been enjoying it.
I almost
Matt,
started it. I was this close.
yeah, I'm with you. It's definitely on my list of like, oh, actually, when it comes to console, again, like I've got the PC here, which I'm talking to everyone on at the moment. But I just prefer, like I bought an 85-inch TV. I have a nice couch. Like I just feel it's wasted if I'm not using the Xbox. Massive Chalice, which is coming to cloud and console, which I believe was on the was it Games with Gold or something back in the Xbox One
Yeah,
days, way back in the day.
definitely was. I'm pretty sure I have that, and I
Um,
always wanted to start it because it looked neat. But there's like some rough achievements in that one, and
yeah,
RNG and all that fun
that
stuff.
was one of
So.
those that was back when like when Games with Gold first started, and this was like, what the fuck is this? And then the ratio just got blown out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But it is apparently quite a difficult game. Railway Empire 2 is also coming out for cloud console and PC. And then Chicory, which I'm very excited about, is May 30th. Game
So,
of the Year contender, I think, a couple of years ago.
yeah, so tell me about it. 'Cause I've never heard of it until literally, I think it may have brushed past my mind back then because I'm sure everyone was talking about it. And now everyone's hyped that it's coming to Game Pass. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, I think, again, I don't exactly 100%. I think it was just on the PlayStation. Might have been on
Yeah, it was
PC
a
as well.
PS Plus or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. A lot of people like kind of discovered it, and I got sort of brought up in a lot of the Game of the Year competition, like sort of discussions with various publications. Um, it's like a very sort of cute. It's like a cute like painting game kind of thing where it's like very like cartoonish, and you kind of paint stuff and like solve puzzles, and like it just has like a really nice vibe to it. It's one of those kinds of like arty games that people really enjoy that are quite chill vibes, as it were. Um, it has a really nice thing where if you can't solve a puzzle, you can go to a phone and call your mother, and she'll give you a hint. And if
Oh,
you
neat.
really can't figure it, and if you really can't figure it out, your dad will chime in and give you the whole answer. So
Dad's good.
that's the kind of feel they're going for. It's very sweet. And it's one of those ones that I was really sad that I never got a chance to actually like play because I saw so much coverage about it from people being like, you need to play this indie, like give this a try. So it coming to Xbox, like I said with Stray, it's nice to see a lot of this PlayStation stuff finally sort of filtering across. So I'm
Still
very
waiting on
excited
that
for
Legend of
that.
Mana port, please. Square Enix,
Yeah, oh my god,
please.
yes.
More Square Enix games
That
in general.
Final Fantasy 16 port would be great too.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 7 remake, and Octopath Traveler 2, and Live Alive, and oh my god, so many.
Live Live,
Anyway,
man. That looks really cool. I really wish they. And I don't think we have Octopath 2, right? Or something
nope,
like that.
nope,
Did we get Octopath 2?
no
Yeah, we didn't get
Octopath 2.
that. We're not getting the pixel remasters. Come on, Square Enix.
Yeah, Square Enix, man, what are you doing to me? Um,
Oh, I mean,
if they,
is
if
it
they,
Sony that's probably paying them? I mean,
almost
face it.
certainly, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm wondering how long that exclusivity is for. Um, and this is just a fun one that just got announced on June 1st, which again is a little bit outside of it, but Slayers X colon Terminal Aftermath colon Vengeance of the Slayer. Um,
Colons in there are
if
fitting,
you don't,
considering
yes,
poop. Lots of
yes,
poop.
yes, there's a lot, yeah. If you don't know what this is a reference to, it is a spin-off from Hypnospace Outlaw, with one of the recurring characters of that game making this game about it's a shooter where the guy comments on literally everything. I think it's going to be an absolutely insufferable game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Game Pass is the perfect place for it. We'll have a look at the list. I probably will play it, but it's more of a joke than a real game. So I'm curious to see kind of how it turns out. There's a trailer. You should go watch it. It's pretty funny.
Hypnospace Outlaw. What was that? That sounds familiar. Was that Games with Gold or is that on Game Pass?
It was Game Pass for a while. Hypnosis Outlaw. It was the
Yeah.
one that was where you were going around the fake like GeoCities like early '90s internet.
Yep. I remember that one. Okay.
And you had to go to all the pages and stuff. Again, the last achievement was a huge pain in the ass, but everything else
Yeah, I
about it
never played
was quite cool.
for that reason.
Yeah. It was a really interesting like if again like achievement wise is not an achievement game, it's very much like an experience game, and the kind of idea of like going around and investigating stuff and being a mod for '90s internet is very funny. They got the tone perfect. And then we've got a few things that got announced to be leaving. Lawn Mowing Simulator is leaving. Again, these are all leaving end of the month, end of May. Evil Genius 2, World Domination, Floppy Nights, Europa Universalis 4 on Windows, and FIFA 21, which is no surprise because the new FIFA just got added.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking? Are you jumping on any of these?
Like you, I'm pretty sure we're doing Floppy Nights, right?
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
think.
I
Yeah.
had a look. I was looking at Lawn Mowing Simulator, but I know that
Oh,
and I
me
know Mike
too.
has finished it, right? And I was like, maybe, but like the amount of time that you need to do it, and also the fact that it kind of it's so challenge specific and kind of takes the fun. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't. It's very much not like Power Wash Simulator where it's just like a chill game. Like there's nothing chill about lawn mowing.
Speaking of news, did you hear
Um,
Power Wash Simulator is getting a SpongeBob DLC?
I did see
Not sure
that.
how.
Considering they got a Final Fantasy VII DLC, I don't know. I don't understand how they're making all these
And Tomb
deals.
Raider. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
for
great.
them.
Like
Though,
I love it.
are you gonna scrub SpongeBob's house with a sponge? That seems kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's kind of weird. Hmm.
Maybe he'll get off on it. I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know what
yeah,
SpongeBob's
I
into.
mean, hey, like it gets like, yeah, just rub me up against this pineapple. Um,
I don't like
yeah,
the way that
so Lawn
worded.
Mowing
I don't like that.
Simulator. It's a shame we don't do clip of the week anymore. Um, yeah, so Lawn Mowing Simulator, I guess. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get around to it. It also has a lot of DLC, which I'm like, oh Christ, okay. Um,
Hmm.
Evil Genius 2 looks kind of not great, to be honest.
I
Um,
love those kind of games, but it is a long one. I'm not taking that chance right now.
yeah. Europa, again, that's an insane. I don't have time for Paradox games. FIFA 21, obviously not going to play. So Floppy Nights, I guess, is all that's left. And so I've started that. So I guess we'll transition from that into what we've been
I would
playing.
say just roll right into it.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been playing a little bit of Floppy Nights. I am at like the third area of like 6, I think. So again, it's not a super long game, but I know there are some challenges afterwards, and each area has like 4 missions. And kind of getting to grips with it. Thankfully, they've added a bunch of assist modes that have made the game a lot easier from when it came out.
Hmm.
So I've been actually having a relatively good time with it, more than I expected, because I was a little bit hesitant going into it because I'm not a super big strategy guy, especially like tile based. But yeah, I think it's cute. I like the art style. I kind of like the mechanics in terms of like the strategy behind it. I don't know. You've been playing it as well, right?
Yeah, and I also have really been enjoying it. I have been playing it, I think, longer than you, but I'm probably about the same spot. I think I'm on the third world, just because I've been taking my time with it and trying to finish Redfall. But yeah, it's really cute. The assists definitely help a lot. I pity Cameron for having done it before then. Um, and you can do like there's the 2.0 version, which the only reason I started this is because I read on their page that the 2.0 edition was like their quote unquote final add-on, so I don't have to worry about achievements, thank goodness. Um, but yeah, and that adds like side missions that aren't achievement related, but give you some pretty powerful floppy nights to cheese through it, and it's great. I'm really enjoying it so far. I do like strategy games too, so I'm glad I started it.
Okay. Yeah, I might check that. I haven't checked out the side quest yet. I probably should actually, because that is really my only real issue with it, is that I'm like, I have a kind of strategy that I kind of use, but I'm like, I don't know if this is, again, I'm a min maxer. Like I like having an optimal
Hmm.
strategy. I like having like the best deck. I'm like, I need, okay, how many of these cards should I have? Um, for those who haven't played it, it is a sort of turn-based, grid-based strategy where you have a selection of cards in a deck, and every turn you draw a bunch of them, and you can use them on that turn, and then they get shuffled back into your deck at some stage, or they get discarded and then shuffled back in. Um, and so that includes like being like cards that allow you to move, cards that allow you to attack, ones that heal you, ones that summon other creatures, and you have a bit of a commander on the field that is you can't basically you have to keep them alive, but they also have special abilities as well.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty cool. And it's easy if you want to get that completion quick before it leaves.
yeah. So I would definitely recommend it. In terms of other things that I've been playing, so last week I talked a little bit about AI 2. So I finished that basically the night afterwards. I stayed up late till about 3 a.m. working on it because I just had to figure out what was going on. So you know how I was like, I feel like I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this, but it's not as good as the first one. Like I feel like I'm spinning my wheels a lot and things
Hmm.
aren't making a lot of sense. Finally fucking figured out why that was happening. Holy shit.
Did it take a turn?
Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this game has a real turn in it, which again, it's a mystery game. Of course, I'm not I'm not going to say like it has like a big twist or like a big reveal or whatever. But there's like a when you get to the end of the game and suddenly things become you understand things, you're like, oh my fucking god, how did I not see it? Um,
because I was so confused. I really felt like I was like, is this bad writing or bad translation? And I was like, no, they've got to be working up to something here, because some of the stuff like is not matching up, doesn't make sense. Is it like I talked about, like, is it like unreliable narrator stuff? Is it like what are we actually? It was absolutely insane. But yeah, absolutely loved it. There is the ending is yeah, like it. The first game was ridiculous. This game is just like they just ramped it up. They went like full they went full Fast and Furious, where they just kept ramping it up and ramping it up and ramping it up. They were just like, no, we're just going to 11. It doesn't fucking matter. So yeah, again, highly recommend it. I mean, definitely play the first one first. There is, again, some little bit of weird stuff. Like I still think the first one is a bit better in terms of like a cohesive narrative, because you're not jumping between perspectives as much. So it's a little bit easier to keep things straight. Also, the finale of the game ends exactly the same way, with the exact same thing as the first one, which I teased in again. It's another one. It's good. It's real good. And then there's also an alternate ending, which kind of translates to the game's themes, that is very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away about it, but it has like an alternate ending that you can get by doing some fuckery. That is like, oh, okay, what is this? What are the implications for this? This is very interesting. But yes, so I definitely recommend it. It's an absolutely fantastic game. Also finished up Near Replicant. So again, I was partly way through it, so I did my other runs of it. Played there's a new bit of content for Replicant. So there's a new ending, ending E, which has some new stuff that kind of ties in with a little bit with Nier Automata, which is quite interesting.
Oh, neat.
And kind of has it allows you to undo a bit of ending D, if you understand what that means. Obviously, I'm not going to give anything away, but it allows you to basically retroactively kind of change that a bit, and also gives you a very, very good weapon. Still had to do like the grinding bit, where I did grind materials for 10 hours trying to upgrade all my weapons, but finally got that done yesterday, which was great. And in doing that, I also started my game for my 2.2 million, which was Paw Patrol Save Adventure Bay, or whatever it was. Yeah, that's a game.
That's a game.
I mean, you jump around as dogs, you collect stuff. I skipped every cutscene, so I don't know. I played the game on mute as well, because I did not need to hear any of that terrible music or the voice acting. I mean, it was fine. You know, you collect dog treats. I mean, I wouldn't even say puzzles. They aren't in puzzles. You just go up to things with certain things and press B. It was very inoffensive. Finished in like 2.5 hours. I've been meaning to get to it for ages anyway, so this was just a good opportunity. And there's a rumor that it might be leaving Game Pass next month anyway.
Okay, good to know.
Also talking about stuff. So again, I picked up AI 2. I picked up Near Replicant because they weren't on Game Pass. I also picked up Klonoa, Fantasy Reverie series, which is a bit of a deep cut. So Klonoa was a side-scrolling platformer series from the PlayStation 1 and 2. I owned the PlayStation 1 version back in the day, and I rented the PlayStation 2 version. So there's a lot of nostalgia there for me. So what they've basically done is they've recreated both games in a new engine, or in an updated engine version, because I think they released it for like the Wii or Wii U or something. So they've kind of up-res the PlayStation 2 version quite a bit, and then use that same engine to recreate the first game. So it all basically plays continuously. It looks the same. First game is very, very simple. There's only like 12 or 13 levels. Again, it's not a very long game. It's a sort of side-scrolling platformer where you basically, the conceit is that it's like you travel in and out of the foreground quite a bit, in terms of like the paths are quite twisting, and kind of there's a little bit of physicsy stuff there. And you have an ability to grab enemies and then use them as a double jump, or to throw them at things and solve puzzles. First game is very simple. I'm about halfway through the second game. It is really, really fun. I'm having a good time. It is not a deep or particularly difficult game. There is very little challenge. There's like an easy, medium, and hard mode, so you can make it as difficult as you want. But they definitely made it more accessible. I'm just having a good time with it. It was on sale. It was something that I've been wanting to play for a long time again, just to kind of get back into it. And yeah, I had very much like core memory unlocked moment with a lot of the stuff around like some of the sound effects and some of the boss fights. I was like, oh man, I remember doing this as a kid and really struggling. I remember
That's a
like
good
the
feeling.
second to last boss fight, or the second or third to last boss fight, in the first game. I was like, that was really, really hard as a kid, and like all of these, I've just like smashed through them. So at least I feel like I've gotten a little bit better at games than I was as a kid. And then the last thing I'll talk about, again, I know I've been playing a lot this week. The last thing I'll talk about is The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which Cameron talked a little bit about last week. I was very, very excited for this. I love the Cthulhu. I love Metroidvanias. I love Cthulhu. I was really interested in the story. This is a bad game. This is like Cameron was a bit more. He was a bit nicer to it. This is just a straight up bad game. This is a like 4 out of 10 game.
Ooh, that's bad.
It's rough. The story is basically like non-existent. It's very, very poorly explained. You play as Benedict Fox, who has been possessed by some sort of demon. Everything is implied. You kind of have to read all the notes to get the backstory. They just throw you into the game with no explanation. The voice acting is really bad. Like, again, I don't want to be rude, right? But there are a lot of like English as a second language people doing the voice acting for this game, and it shows a lot. Like the timing and how they speak is really bad. The combat I really don't like. The exploration is decent but confusing. And they half of the game is combat, combat, exploration, and puzzles are sort of the 3 parts of this game. The exploration is fine. It does do the thing where you get experience points for beating enemies for the first time, and you can use that to get abilities. Some of the traversal abilities are locked behind that, as opposed to finding them in the world, which I think is like cardinal sin. You shouldn't be doing that. Like you shouldn't be locking a double jump or like a down slam, or like a like a door opening ability between like experience points. Those should just be things you find in the world. That's a personal thing for me, but yeah. And so the other bit is the puzzles, and so the puzzles are quite involved. You need to find a lot of like, you need to find notes. There's a lot of like you get like a book that you need to do like translations to figure out codes and stuff. But it does the cardinal thing of you can go in and, the classic thing where you look at the puzzle and start to manipulate it. You can look at any puzzle in the game straight away. Doesn't matter if you have the actual things you need to solve it or not. The game does not tell you unless you try to auto solve it with the auto solver, and then it says, "Oh, you haven't got all the pieces for this puzzle." I'm like, well, why would you let me fuck around for half an hour trying to figure out this puzzle if you knew that I didn't have what I needed to solve it?
You had told me that earlier.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the thing is, like, you can play this game on like there's an assist mode for this game where it makes you invincible. Enemies die in one hit. It shows you where most of the stuff is, and you can auto solve all the puzzles. And that's how you need to play this game, really, for the most part. Because everything else, like those. In most games where those are things that make the game easier or make the game more accessible, this makes the game playable.
Oh.
And it's really fucking unfortunate because like I was thinking like, hey, Metroidvania, we're probably going to go the lines of like a Castlevania where it's like, you're in a manor, you go and you find a couple of dead bodies and you go into their kind of like their sort of hellscape of their dying souls or whatever. I was expecting like, hey, we're going to have like a manor, and then we're going to have like a couple of shadow versions of it, and we explore the manor and discover things, right? It's very much more like they've obviously taken a lot of inspiration from Ori, where it's like it's a Metroidvania in that it's a large world that isn't like grid based. It's like a large world that you need to explore and find things. But yeah, it has a lot of problems, and I'm really, really upset that it's just not a good game. I did complete it. Most of the achievements are relatively straightforward. The assist modes obviously make it a lot easier. There is a little bit of like, yeah.
I was gonna say that's a real shame because if going off what Cameron said, I would have thought, oh, it's an okay game, it's glitchy a little bit or something. But boy, just bad, huh?
That's what I thought. I was expecting like, hey, some UI stuff problems or some like, oh, hey, like some enemy. Like I found a few enemies like T-posing, and I just reset the game and it was fine. Like I had a couple of bugs here and there, but like it's actually like the quality of the game is actually quite poor, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate.
I mean, like I said, the assess modes will make it relatively straightforward to do as a completion. There is a point of no return that it warns you about. Definitely do all the stuff before then. But yeah, it's just I had such high hopes, and it just kind of feels like okay, yeah, not. It's really not great, unfortunately. I'd be
Darn.
curious. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll smash through it. You'll have no problems. I would wait maybe for a walkthrough just to kind of make it a little bit easier, so you're not fucking around too much. Because
Definitely
again,
the
the thing
plan.
is that like, yeah, because like there is a guide on TA that kind of gives you like, oh sorry, there's a guide on Steam that gives you kind of like an idea of roughly what you should be doing. But the game's also very, like Cameron said, very poor about signposting and about kind of leading you in the right direction. Which you're gonna need to find a balance. Obviously, you don't necessarily need an arrow pointing you to everything you need to find. But because the game isn't like grid based, like there are a lot of options and a lot of mobility stuff that kind of make it a bit more difficult. But yeah, put the assist mode on, play it on the easiest difficulty, play the exploration mode on easy, just kind of run through it. You'll be just fine. It took me like 12 hours or so. It's relatively short.
There's a question for you, with like Metroidvania games. Do you prefer like an open map system, or do you prefer like a grid-based Metroid Castlevania kind of style? Well, no, I guess Castlevania is only one. Castlevania, Shadow Complex, those kind of games.
Yeah, I
Like,
usually prefer that kind of stuff where it like at least gives me the balance of what I'm looking for. Like, I really enjoyed Shadow Complex. I really enjoyed Metroid and like the Mummy Demastered or whatever it was
oh
so
man, I've been
good.
meaning
I
to get one of
love
those
that game.
forever.
That was such a good fucking game. Um and then also the music in that is so good, like John Carpenter level. Like anyway. Um yeah, like I tend to prefer those games. Like I really enjoyed Ori for the most part. But I definitely did get myself to the point where I was like, fuck, where are these damn collectibles? But modern game design has made that a lot easier, whereas like they know that like, hey, either you buy an ability that shows you where the collectibles are, or if you find something you can't get to, it remains on the map so you know you can go back to it later. Like
hmm
Robbie in chat points that Metroid Fusion is one of my favorite games. Exactly. Like that is that is one of those games in my childhood that really cemented that kind of thing. Like I really enjoyed what was it? Axiom Verge. Like Axiom Verge is a great example of one of those kinds
Ooh,
of
good to
games.
know.
Highly recommend it. I still need to do the speed run, but it is a great game. But yeah, so I prefer that. I mean, again, I'm relatively flexible. Like technically, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City are technically Metroidvanias as well, right? You go to new
hmm
areas, you learn abilities, you go back and discover stuff that in previous areas that you couldn't get to. So I'm relatively open to the idea, but it's like again, a lot of the stuff requires more guides, more signposting, better UI. This kind of feels like the worst of both worlds, unfortunately.
Oof. That's unfortunate because I like a lot of people were kind of looking forward to it. It looked really cool. And I love Metroidvanias. That's like
Yeah,
my favorite, one of my favorite genres. So that's unfortunate.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's all I've been playing. Again, I know it's a lot. I'm probably going to be calming down a little bit now that I've finished a few games. But with Floppy Nights and Klonoa, I'm thinking about maybe starting Ni no Kuni 2. We'll see.
Oof.
I
Is that
did play
longer
like
or shorter than
I
the other
like
one?
it's about the same, but
Oh, okay.
I did technically play it for like 5 minutes or so just to get to the first save point to get a feel for it. Before I got an achievement. It's a
hmm
completely different kind of game. It's an action RPG as opposed to like a turn-based RPG. I was so surprised. Anyway, I'll talk about it more
Oh,
when I play it. But yeah.
alrighty.
Um. Anyway, what have you been playing?
I've been, as we discussed before, I've been playing Floppy Nights. I'm getting pretty close. Once I actually get a chance to sit down, my week's been nuts. So once I actually have a chance to sit down, I will definitely probably knock that out pretty quick. It's fairly easy. And then of course I've been working on Redfall. From where I was last week, I finished almost all the achievements. I got all my collectibles. All the guides are out now. There's plenty of help. It's a fairly overall easy game. Oddly enough, the first boss is probably the hardest enemy in the game of the four bosses. Um, all I have left is there is a lot of mission-based achievements, and one of them requires you to get through a mission without tripping any tripwires, while sneaking around
Hmm.
vampires who can trip the tripwires and count against you.
Oh
And
my
it's just a
god.
pain. And the game is there's no mission retries. And in this particular mission, if like it's constantly auto saving. Like I've already tried to quit out really quick if it happens, and it's still done. So you get like one shot, and that's it. So I'm on my third playthrough now because it's also a mission in the second half of the game, like in the
Oh
after
my
the point of no
god.
return.
Okay.
So that's been annoying. I think though that I may have thought of a way to. I think you can save scum it. So I'm gonna try that probably after
Okay.
the podcast. So hopefully I might actually finish that tonight. And then the other achievement is just for doing a later mission a second way. It's easy enough. I can get that. But yeah, I'm about to probably gonna finish Redfall real soon. And
Okay.
Floppy Nights, and then I'm not sure what I'm gonna play next. What is today? The 19th. So yeah, I got a couple weeks until the next list of games leaving. So I guess I gotta pick something to play. Ugh. Oh, and then
You got plenty
this
to choose from.
I guess this week. Oh, I guess I finished Just Dance 2022 as well. Finally.
Oh yes,
So that
right,
was
right.
great. Thank God.
Oh, nice choice.
I should have finished that back in like last February, but my life just went nuts, and then I lost all motivation to get up at what 7 in the morning before work and play sweaty Connect games. So been a while, but yeah, I quickly
Totally fair.
finished that up. I can't wait to get to 2023. If I'm hoping I have fun with it, I guess we'll see. I'll probably start it and then see if I like doing holding the phone just doesn't seem as fun, you know? So we'll see.
Yeah.
But glad to have that
For
one
sure.
knocked out. I've got all the mainline games up to this point now completed, so um yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna miss that series a lot. Curse you! Why'd you quit
Sure.
Connect? Don't give up on us.
Eh,
Dang it, Microsoft.
Well, I mean, they had to
Bill.
stop at some stage, right? Um. Yeah, I'm curious to see. Yeah, what you pick next to play. I mean, hey, you could play. Trying to think what's in game. I mean,
Well, let me see what games I have installed. There's a couple I actually want to play, including Ghostwire. I really want to play that.
yeah, Ghostwire is a
There's
good one. Yeah. Well, I
Hard
mean, that's a
Space.
good one.
I know we all talked about doing Hollow Knight. I actually have that installed. Maybe I'll start that. I got some of the easy ones like Ravenlock and that Blaze Blue cross tag battle game. I got a couple of choices here.
Oh yeah,
So,
I need to do that Blaze Blue one actually. Again, fighting games are not my thing, but apparently that one's quite straightforward.
oh yeah, no, I hate fighting games, and I forget who said it was pretty easy. But I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll
I,
jump in that
I
then.
think I think Mike did it, and again, I always have to be a little bit careful with the things that Mike says are easy because Mike is also very good at video games, even if she's arthritic as fuck. Um,
Yeah, no
so again,
kidding.
it's just like she's like, yeah, fighting games are real hard for me because of my hands, and I was like, but you still smashed it, so it's probably not too bad. But then she's also like, oh yeah, I'll just get through Perfect Dark Zero, no problem.
I think she's still complaining about her hands hurting from that game she did. So, at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. Robbie has a question here for you. How close are you or to the Just Dance series completion in general?
Oh, actually a good bit of ways. I think there are no stacks for the games except for 2021, which has a series stack where they first started dabbling in no connect. So if I do that one, I've got to go back and there'll be phone only. And then there's like a bunch of Disney ones. There's a couple kids ones. Yeah, it's actually a good bit I need. And I've thought about going back and getting those, but I'd have to buy them. And then there's like Just Dance 4 still on the 360 I needed to do. Yeah, there's Just Dance Disney Party 2, Just Dance China, Just Dance Kids. Yeah, there's a good few I still need to do. What do you mean, Robbie? Do you mean like stacks? Because I want to do them, but I don't know how in the world I get those China's ones. I think that stuff's pretty hard to get a hold of. So
Children stacks are a bit of a nightmare.
yeah, but I'm close, real close. I got all the mainline ones done. I count that. Just got to go back and do 4 whenever I want to figure out my 360 Connect again. Because man, that's just a pain every time I get on that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right. Well, let's have a look at our leaderboards because we've had a lot of gamer score this week. So in third place we have our Warlord Ethan with 20,494 points. We have Mephisto for the win with 36,632. Fucking insane. And then Mad Eye Pad Eye with 39,699. I don't understand how
Oof.
you guys can score this. That's a ridiculous amount of score for a week. I'm gonna reach. I think I'm gonna reach out to Mephisto and Mad Eye, see if they want to be on the show, because I need to talk to them about their mentalities for this stuff, because
You
it's
have
always
a
just so
job.
curious to me.
Have you touched
Yeah.
grass?
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes I think I play too much, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, nope. I don't have that delusion anymore.
Yeah, and then completion shout out. So Cameron finished up Catan and Dead Island 2. Rapture finished up a bunch of baby games, Ravenlock, Road to Guangdong. Perk finished up Coffee Talk, Metal Hellsinger, Contrast, and Genesis Noir. The Moonzone finished up Last Case of Benedict Fox, Pentiment, and Full Throttle Remastered. Mikhail KV finished up Grounded and Saints Row DLC. Kia finished up Ravenlock. Cobra Todd finished up Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Bulbasaur finished up Danganronpa 2, Man After My Own Heart. Anubis finished up Star Wars Battlefront. And Sayantan 1991 finished up Halo 5. Some good completions this week.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting into Dead Island 2, actually. That's another one where I'm like,
that looks
probably wait for a sale.
Way more fun than Redfall.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it'll be on Game Pass sooner rather than later.
Ooh, that'll be real nice.
And then of course we have the word challenge, everyone's favorite competition that we run, where basically I pick a game, put it into a channel on Discord, discord.io/HallOfGamers. And you can come into the channel there, guess the name of the game, and if you get it right, a gift pops up and you win $20 New Zealand. Now, unfortunately, someone has ruined it for you all by getting the question right in the second week. So, so a big fuck you to Lefty for systematically ruining the entire competition, because now I have to come up with something else. But seriously though, good job to Lefty. So the clues were that it was an adventure game, and that more than half of the achievements were missable. And the answer was, of course, Grim Fandango Remastered. Dang. The clue for this week was going to be it was a game that I haven't played. But it's funny because the reason I have it there is because I have it installed on my profile and just haven't got around to getting to it yet. But yeah, so Lefty, make sure you get in touch with me, win your $20 New Zealand, get your dollar dues. What am I going to do for the next one? Now I'm going to have to come up with a really tricky one for the next one. But
like
yeah,
a walking simulator.
But
there's this one popular one with like puzzles and walking. It's escaping me, but you should pick that one.
Sure, all right, I'll pick that one. Yep, that's easy.
Yeah,
and it's yeah. Try yes. Actually, I know. Actually, yeah, that's a good idea. I have some ideas. Yeah, yeah. Walking simulator will be the clue for next week. Who knows? But yeah, so I'll be setting up another one for probably next week or the week after, depending on how timelines work. So stay tuned. But as always, come join us in the Discord, discord.io/HallOfGamers. We've got the channel for the word challenge there. We have a questions channel where we have people posting questions and a bit of discussion, which we talked about earlier in the show. We obviously have the podcast channel to talk about the show itself, a general chat, some memes, some serious stuff. And, like, again, we also do have a sort of a channel for our Patreons as well, where we sort of discuss content there, where and as needed. Speaking of a Patreon, a huge thank to our patrons out there, patreon.com/HallOfGamers. If you don't know what Patreon is, basically it's a way to give us some money so we can keep doing the show, basically. We really greatly appreciate all of our supporters. All of the money from the Patreon goes straight back into the show, for paying for things like Zoom and for hosting for the show, and for competitions and very occasionally for equipment, so I can get myself a ring light, for example. Or a mic or something along those lines, so we can continue to keep the high quality that you're expecting of this absolute trash fire of a show.
Yeah, could you guys like start donating more so I can quit my job? Like, they promised me a paycheck like weeks ago, and I ain't seen any of that. So like,
it's in the mail. It's in the mail.
Chop. Oh, okay.
So a huge thank you to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Natalator, sorry, Natolinator. Cameron's not here. Natolinator, Firehawk, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Keo, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavalier 07, Old Matt Clown, Mark B, and McLovin Legend. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Without it, we literally couldn't afford to do it. And I guess that's kind of bring us towards the end of the show. I mean, if you want to get in touch with us in other ways, you can email us, hallofgamerspodcast@gmail.com or @hallofgamerspod on Twitter. Otherwise, subscribe to us on your platform of choice. Leave us a review. We greatly appreciate it. Word of mouth, as always, is huge for us. And then I guess for that, Shane, Firehawk. Where can you be found? What are you up to?
Oh, Firehawk D on Xbox, and of course TA for that regard. Firehawk D, all one word, underscore Xbox on Twitch, for which I'll be on there in a minute. Let's see, Firehawk D, all one word on Twitter. I don't have a TikTok yet. I'm not one of the cool kids. Find my OnlyFans. Yeah, that's about it.
Easy. And for me, it's Neomaster and everything True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord, the same way it is every week. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 79 of the Xbox Hall of Gamers podcast. We will catch you guys next week. See you later.
Peace.